What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And I did a video recently about this situation in Jamestown, right? In which a guy, Robert Ransom, had snuck his way into the control booth and held a female officer, Katie Jackson, I think is her name, hostage for hours, right? Held her hostage for hours and abused her, right? Abused her in a way that unfortunately men sometimes abuse women, unmentionable ways. While he was up there, and then had weird conversations with her and wanted her to bring in contraband and all this stuff, and apparently, according to her, in his mind, he was just going to go back to his cell at 2 o'clock in the morning, and and they were going to continue on in this arrangement. So she sued CDCR, right? The news broke when it first happened, but then it was real kind of quiet after that. And when I first heard about it, I thought it was nonsense, right? And then I didn't hear anything else for like a year. But just recently, she sued CDCR. In that lawsuit, it spells out exactly what she says she experienced. I did a video outlining that lawsuit and going over it. A lot of people have done content around it from different perspectives. Um, and he was also charged, right? The timing of her releasing the lawsuit coincides with him being charged by Tuolumne County for all the stuff you would expect somebody like that to be charged with. And so after doing that video, I've got a lot of feedback in the comments, but some folks reached out and I got some new information that kind of shifts my view on some stuff, right? So, first of all, this dude, Robert Ransom, she said that it was partly California model is to blame for what happened to her because, COs aren't allowed to deal with inmates the way that they used to and all sorts of stuff, right? And I said it's a very political argument. And there was a question she had said in her lawsuit: why did this guy come to our yard? How come, this is her talking. How come I wasn't told about this as a female officer and the increased risk I was facing and all this other stuff? So somebody reached out and said, hey, I know how he ended up in Jamestown, right? This guy, Robert Ransom. And apparently he was in High Desert, I believe in D facility, D yard, in High Desert, which to the best of my knowledge is a GP yard. And he had been doing time up there. And because of his charges, I guess. So to clarify one thing, this dude, Robert Ransom, was not convicted for any S offenses prior to coming to prison. He didn't have an R on his jacket. I think that's kind of been lost in this a little bit. He ended the lives of women. He went to prison for ending the lives of women and for assaulting a girl, but there's nothing to suggest that it was that type of assault. Horrible stuff to do. I'm not defending the guy whatsoever or what he, was convicted of, but I think this matters for the purpose of this story. So he's over there, he's on a general population yard. And the Woods apparently approached the brothers, approached the black dudes on the yard and say, hey, this dude gotta go. This guy can't be here. And the brothers reply with, it's not our business. It's not our issue. What people did in the streets is what they did in the streets. And so that's why I think the fact he doesn't have a S offense is relevant. Now, why the Woods pressed that line on this particular individual, I don't know. I suspect that it's because maybe one of his victims was white. And we know based on the names that one of the victims was Raza, right? But the teenager, because he had snatched up a teenager, assaulted her, poured gasoline on her, and apparently was trying to light her on fire when she escaped from the van. Because she was a teenager when it happened, we have no idea what her name is. Can't even guess about what her race is. One of the other ladies that was killed, her parents spoke with interpreters and everything else, so you can kind of connect those dots. So that's the only thing I can think is maybe one of her victims was a white lady, was a white girl, and maybe the Woods on her yard knew about it. Maybe somebody there was related to her or related to her family, because this dude had been locked up for close to 10 years at this point. And so it's not like his case was fresh in the news now. But looking around LA, it was all over the media when he was convicted. He got, I think, 84 to life or 86 to life or something for multiple homicides, right? So that's my only guess, because otherwise I don't really know why the Woods would concern themselves with what a black dude is in prison for, right? I have heard of things like this happening. I've never seen it. I've never been on a yard where that conversation happens between them, but I have heard that it has happened before in the past. That's my only guess. So, anyways, the brothers decide, like, hey, look, for this dude in prison for whatever he's in prison for, but it's not those types of offenses. So, like, fuck it, we ain't tripping. The Woods take it a step further and they bust a move on him, dude. Right? They run up in his cell. They try to get him. Apparently, he hides underneath the bunk. So even though they have weapons, they don't really get him very good. Um, he's, I can imagine, right? He's panicked. He's under the bunk trying to survive. And some of the brothers get up to, like, hey, what's going on over there? Apparently, the Southsiders then step in. So there's no big confrontation, but these Woods run up in the cell trying to blast this black dude. So he gets moved out on an emergency transfer. Okay, that's how he ends up in Jamestown. Is an emergency transfer for safety concerns. Now, I'm assuming that the yard doesn't go up after that, because I think we would have heard about it, right? So I don't think there's any continued violence. Uh, Perhaps the brothers feel like, hey, you know, this is not the type of individual that we're gonna go to war over, right? We're not gonna get rid of him because he didn't do anything deserving of that from us. However, if you feel so strongly that you're willing to take that step, that's kind of your business. I don't know. I wasn't on the yard. Um, that is just a type of situation that I don't foresee happening with North or South. So I don't know, right? I don't know. Maybe somebody, when you guys can let me know in the comments, if you got more information, who knows? But apparently that's how it unfolds. So that's how this dude Ransom ends up in Jamestown. Now, yes, he assaulted women in the streets, right? He ended the lives of some women in the streets, but he's not an S offender. So the degree to which even COs were talking about what this guy went to prison for 10 years prior, I don't know. Uh, so there's that. That's how he gets there. And I think the politics, the idea of, hey, the California model, him getting moved over there, I think that strengthens her argument. The manner in which he leaves a level 4 180 yard and gets thrown on a level 3 yard, the security of the facility is pretty damn similar, right? A building with cells is a building with cells in the California Department of Corrections. So it's not a much more relaxed place. The 180 design building versus the 270 design building is a difference, um, but I think maybe that's where the politics of an argument comes in, is the override that this dude got. He should have been on a level 4 180 yard, and because he was the victim and there's the potential for the yard to pop off over it, like, but why you come throw him on a level 3 yard? Why couldn't you throw him on another level 4 180 yard or something else? Who knows, right? Maybe we'll get answers to those questions. We probably won't. On top of that, it was told to me that this guy was only in Jamestown for like 10 days. Now, I had seen in the report where after he was there less than 2 weeks, he got the job as the porter. Didn't realize the short time frame that he was a porter before this whole thing unfolds. If it's true that he was only there 10 days, I think that weakens the thought that maybe they had a thing going on. You know, 10 days is a very short amount of time for somebody to, uh, I'll just put it, to pull a CO, right? To just pull up on a yard, and then to have a female CO so on the team, so to speak, that she's letting you up in the control booth. That's fast, right? And this is not a new CO. She had been around. She was married to us or engaged to another CO. Um, so the folks I was talking to really believe her story and think she got way too comfortable, right? There's some convenient excuses being made in terms of people not doing their jobs across the board. That doesn't mean that she deserves what happened to her by any stretch. And this individual, deserves everything he's got coming to him and more. So I'm not taking his side by, at all. What he did to those women in the streets, even though there's no S offense, that's still some monster shit to just be mobbing around, knocking down females like that, right? A child died in one of the situations. Unclear if he had a direct uh, something directly to do with the child dying or not. But regardless, just an evil dude, not somebody you want on the streets. Before this stuff happens in a gun town. And then if it's true that he does all this stuff, like I said, he deserves whatever he has coming towards him. But I did the video. I am leaning more uh towards the CO telling the truth in terms of she didn't have no prior relation with the dude, right? Again, the series of things that, if you guys haven't seen it, I'll link to the video. But the series of things that had to go wrong, the number of COs that had to not do their jobs repeatedly for this situation to unfold the way that she describes, is just a perfect storm of people not taking their job serious, right? The California Department of Corrections houses some very dangerous people, houses some very predatory people, houses some very manipulative people. And is everybody like that? No. Are most people like that? Fuck no. Right? And so I'm not going to paint with a broad brush, but are there individuals that are capable of thinking up and doing this kind of stuff? Yes. And if you're going to work there, don't forget that. Right? Don't forget that. And and I think if nothing else, this is a lesson in taking your job serious, right? So anyways, I thought I'd do the update because I was kind of leaning in that direction. Have never said that what she said is not true. I've never said that it is. I've just given you guys the information and hearing your feedback. But the timing of how long he'd been there, I think again points to them not having a relationship, right? And the override, the way that he got the override to be put on that yard, I think does support her argument that the California model perhaps has a role in how this whole thing transpired. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Does this information change your mind whatsoever? Do you believe it? Let me know. Help us move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. Starting to feel a little bit better, man. So probably my last video for today. I did one this morning about Leonard Peltier finally getting to go home next month after 50 years incarcerated, longest serving political prisoner in U.S. history. Check that out if you haven't. And I'll be back tomorrow, man. You guys stay tuned.